Really. It is the function respond video. Yes, sir. Don't tell him though. I want it to be a surprise. Look how long it turned out. I wanted to submit this for like Lucid's contest at a point, because I thought when I wrote it that it was short, because it is short compared to what I usually write. It's still 50 minutes long. I will also be analyzing. Outlines several things. The video itself outlines several things. Firstly, he has quit TF2 trading at the time of upload due to not wanting to further the damaging of TF2's art style. Oh, chat overlay broken. There. Fixed. Yeah, how it feels to talk about things. Secondly, he outlines what type of cosmetics work for TF2 versus what doesn't with a simple comparison. Note that this isn't his opinion, he's just pointing to the objectively changed standards. The counterfeit billycock was added in 2011, the same year as the Robin... as the cardboard strap.
Hey guys, the pyro update out.
Face of the class. I'm gonna dump this over here for right now. That this isn't his opinion. Revealed. The video itself outlines several things. Firstly, he has quit TF2 trading at the time of upload due to not wanting to further the damage. Firstly, he has quit TF2. Secondly, he outlines what type of cosmetics work for TF2 versus what doesn't with a simple comparison. Note that this isn't his opinion, he's just pointing to the objectively changed standards. The counterfeit billycock was added in 2011, the same year as the Robin Walker interview he cites in the intro to the video. It's a humorous play on... The video itself outlines several things. Firstly, he has quit TF2 trading. TF2 trading. Firstly, he has quit TF2. The video itself outlines several things. Firstly, he has quit TF2 trading at the time of upload. He has quit TF2 trading at the time of upload. Trading to sync better. Due to not wanting to further. Note that this isn't his opinion, he's just pointing to the objectively changed standards. The counterfeit billycock was added in 2011, the same year as the Robin Walker interview he cites in the intro to the video. It's a humorous play on the pre-existing gag that spies... disguises the time period of the game. Compare this, as Funk does, to a massive banana head. A massive banana... the time period of the game. Compare this, as Funk does, to a massive banana head that surely gives away location depending on certain maps and serves no purpose other than to be a post-ironic, laugh because it's wacky excuse for a hat. There is nothing thematically, tonally, or even conceptually interesting about this. This cosmetic exists purely for the paint rather than to be a post-ironic, laugh because it's wacky excuse for a hat. for a hat. There is nothing thematically, tonally, or even a massive banana. Yes, indeed. Oh, also, Bonk42, while you're here, if you're so interested, please do indeed sync your YouTube account to your Discord, because I created, well, Tor had created some member-exclusive channels, but I finished up the roles and all that for you, so. Oh, gosh. My eyes. It's finally happening. My eyes are burning out of my head because I've stared at a screen for too much time in my life. Wouldn't it be super funny, haha lamau, if you added an ooh banana DK64 sound effect? Why does that sound like something that the modern TF2 standard would actually do? Play on the pre-existing gag that Spy's disguises are just a piece of cardboard strapped to his head. Okay, I'm gonna have to tighten this up. So there's a pretty popular video about the death. I want any background footage that I have to be a recorded demo of like a TF2 game, because I've got a bunch of demos just lying around and I have to go into the game and record them. Disguises are just a piece of cardboard strapped to his head. Just get Wheezy TF2 footage so people can stare at the banana for the whole video. I don't want to subject them to that necessarily, but you do have a compelling argument. The pre-existing in 2011, the same year as to the video. It's a humorous play on the pre-existing gag that Spy's disguises are just a piece of cardboard strapped to his head, with the face of the class he's disguising as printed on it. It's a top hat with the disguise, so to speak, of a bowler hat. Absurd? Yes, but as Funk outlines, not necessarily over the top. It does reflect the class wearing it, at least in theme, and either hat, top or bowler, certainly would have existed for a character of Spy's disposition back in the time period of the game. Compare this, as Funk does, to a period of the game. Compare this, as Funk does, to a massive banana head that surely gives away massive. Okay, so it's just lagging. It's a wacky excuse for a hat. There is nothing thematic. Does to a massive banana head that surely gives away location depending on certain maps and serves no purpose other than to be a post-ironic laugh because it's wacky excuse for a hat. There is nothing thematically, tonally, or even conceptually interesting about this. This cosmetic exists purely for the paints and the money from keys and trading, as far as Valve is concerned. For the brainwashed fan, this hat exists to be nothing more than a meme, not a joke with substance to tie back to, like the counterfeit Billy Cop. Oh, you know what I should do? Is quit Discord, so that I don't accidentally do that stupid, thing. Elite grade. Bruh. This is such nonsense, dude. This isn't even... I don't understand how Funk can say nowadays that he's got, like... That he just finds them funny now and it doesn't bother him as much. Look at this. Yes, it's the Funky response video. I even call him Funky at a point in the video. As far as Valve is concerned, for the brainwashed fan, this hat exists to be nothing more than a meme, not a joke with substance. There is nothing thematically, tonally, or even conceptually interesting about this. This cosmetic exists purely for the paints and the money from keys and trading, as far as Valve is concerned. For the brainwashed fan, this hat exists to be nothing more than a meme, not a joke with substance to tie back to, like the counterfeit billycock, but, as I said, a statement piece to post irony. It's not just ironic. Let me see. How do I screenshot all of this? Get a load of this guy, Medic, yeah. Capture node screenshot tech. It's the thing that Lucid was complaining about, the thing that's, you're not supposed to do. Press F12, then the button in the top left of Dev Tools. Hover around to find an element containing all the things you want. Click. That sounds very complicated. Here, I'll try it. F12. Top right. An element containing all the things you want. Or top left of DevTools. The button. What button? Top left. Arrow into triangle. What, this one? The filter? The very top left. Oh, this one. Okay, got it. I don't understand this at all, bruv. I don't understand. This is gonna honestly hurt my head. Hang on. I will figure this out. I will learn this another time. I'm scared. There's nothing thematically, tonally, or even conceptually interesting about this. This cosmetic exists purely for the paints and the money from keys and trading, as far as Valve is concerned. For the brainwashed fan, this hat exists to be nothing more than a meme, not a joke with sub. Sometimes I forget that I'm a massive nerd. No, it's fine. It's fine. I don't know. I never fully understand this sort of thing. So what, I just click on it then, or click to select, right click the HTML element, like here, capture node screenshot. Oh, look. It's the banana. Just the white one. Look at this, bro. Oh, that's funny. Okay, well, at least I understand what it does. I wish I could do it for larger parts, but I suppose I can figure out how to do that later. It's not just ironic, since irony is defined as what is more so contextually humorous, like how the Reliable Excavation Demolition Crew is the defending team, while the Builders League United is the team that drops a bomb in Red's buildings. This doesn't even exist to be humorously contrarian in the same sense as TF2's theming and settings. This doesn't even exist to be humorously contrarian in the same... Oh, wait. This doesn't even exist to be humorously contrarian. This... I accidentally had a double sentence in there. That's a bit startling. No. There we go. You can always select the body or HTML element to capture the whole page. Oh! And then do the whole like funny animated scroll down thing. The cart spinning bug. I see, okay. Understood. Reload. Irony. It's not just ironic, since irony is defined as what is more so contextually humorous, like how the Reliable Excavation Demolition Crew is the defending team, while the Builders League United is the team that drops a bomb in Red's buildings. This is the kind of editing Lucid hates. But you know what? There's no need for drop shadows if the background is black. Who am I kidding? That probably... You would probably still need drop shadows. It is more so contextually humorous, like how the... I wish I would stop doing that. Like punching back. It didn't used to do that, and I think it's because I made an error. Actually, you know what? No, I can leave this open because it'll just reveal the background footage that I'll have up when I record the demo file. Video boring if black background. Well, this doesn't even exist to be human. Can I go back to... Dude, that is so AIDS. I can't even convey this properly. Humorously contrarian in the same sense as TF2's themings and settings. It exists to muddy the very ideas of sincere effort and irony within and without context of the game. Now, what I've just described isn't what Funk says word for word, but this is the standard he was pointing to, whether he realized it at the time or not. To point out that there is a sincere difference between a hat for spy that riffs off his in-game mechanics and a wearable banana is to point out that there are standards that exist independent of not only player intention and interpretation, but also developer, whether he realized it at the time or not. To point out that there is a sincere difference between a hat for spy that riffs off his in-game mechanics and a wearable banana is to point out... To be fair, though, what the heck? What kind of paint region? Well, I guess if the paint region is on the disguise, then it's fine, but, like, I don't know, man. Maybe I should use the spy one instead. Yes. Yes. Oh my gosh, the face is so much better for this one. What was I thinking? Gosh, it's so funny. It's so funny how bad this all is. He realized it at the time or not. To point out that there is a sincere difference between a hat for spy that riffs off his between a hat for spy that riffs off his in-game mechanics and a wearable banana with this face too. It's the face. Look at it. Okay. I'm going to try to scale it up a bit more for you guys. Look at this. Between a hat for spy that riffs off his in-game mechanics and a wearable banana is to point out that there are standards that exist independent of not only players that exist it's bugging again of the game. Now, what standards that exist independent of not only player intention and interpretation, but also developer intention and interpretation. The game has, baked within itself, an identity that exists outside of opinion as to what said identity is. The banana ignores this. Now, this isn't to say that TF2 can't be absurd without context. Funk points this out by notating that there are heel rays and human teleportation. This is where the audience, so to speak, is expected to suspend their disbelief for the sake of I'm going to do this for the first time ever. Name of my video tracks. My gosh, I did it. Am I not the best? Of the experience's internal coherency. However, as he noted with his hat comparison, there is a point where absurdity goes over the top. His next primary example are the Apple earphones that were chop it and throw it over there. To the time, this isn't to say that unless the Mac OS. However, as there is a point where absurdity goes over the top. His next primary example is expected to suspend their disbelief for the sake of the experience's internal coherency. However, as he noted with his hat comparison, there is a point where absurdity goes over the top. His next primary example are the Apple earphones that were created as a promotional item for the game's official support on Mac OS. This was in 2010. This makes no sense in universe and serves as nothing more than a cultural tie-in. This makes no sense in universe and serves as nothing more than a cultural tie-in with the popularity of Apple products and the growing popularity of TF2, which would pretty much explode just a year later when the game went free to play. Now, is that a bad thing? Is it bad for TF2 to tie into the cultural relevances of its time period? For that matter, is it bad for any game to do that? Well, unless the game is specifically themed and set in the cultural relevance of the time in which it came out, the answer is yes, it is a bad thing. This is not to say that the creative output from the community cannot be separate. I was recently watching the 2 Dead TF2 servers videos from Redline, and in them I noticed him mention a lot of maps that were insanely popular back in the time periods that they reference. Everything from Mario Kart DS to My Little Pony themings and so on. That's fine for the customized experience that player-hosted servers provide. Those servers are a window into the time period of the game's heyday, when there were enough culturally relevant experiences adjacent to TF2 that to combine them just worked for that time. Note, however, that I said this is acceptable for the custom experience. TF2 has been designed from the outset to be customizable by the players only insofar as player-hosted servers allow. This lends longevity to the game in terms of creativity as well as allowing communities to form around said creativity. The base game, as its own operation, runs on a specific list of responsibilities. It can't just be a sandbox, that's what Gary's mod is. So what the game needs to uphold is an experience that maintains enough internal cohesion and consistency with itself to get players. Servers videos from Redline, and in them I noticed him mention a lot of... I was recently watching periods that they reference, everything from Mario Kart DS to My Little Pony themings and so on. That's fine for the customized experience that player-hosted server. I noticed him mention a lot of maps that were insanely popular. dead TF2 server. This seems a little lazy, but I'm not going to download the entire video just to find one part of it, at least not yet. Maps that were insanely popular back in the time periods that they reference. Servers are a window into needs to uphold opportunities and scenarios that mod is. So what the game needs to uphold is an experience that maintains enough internal cohesion and consistency with itself to get players interested, while also providing enough dynamic team opportunities and scenarios that keep players interested. This was expanded into the realm of weapon side grades, new game modes, and baked-in self-customization through hats. And for as debatable as all of these choices were insofar as their contribution to the game's art style, all of what I've described as expansions from the base game still remained just consistent enough to where nobody really batted an eye. Fast forward to 2007. All of what I've described as expansions from the base game still remained batted an eye. Fast forward to 2017, and Funk is making a video essentially challenging this baked-in customization paradigm with a simple question. How does this benefit baked-in customization paradigm with a simple question? How does this benefit? How does this benefit? Does this benefit TF2? For that matter, what purpose does it serve beyond just looking thematically out of place? Why is this here? These are perfectly reasonable questions to ask, as the game's core still points toward the standards of its creators. Part of the reason TF2 was enticing enough in the first place for a lot of people was because its internal coherency at base gave people the impression that this world, cartoonish though it was by comparison to its contemporaries of the FPS world at the time, made sense for itself. It was goofy, yes, but it worked because the game could take itself just seriously enough to where it helped the game feel unique. Is it goofy for a Boston baseball runt to run around with a child's baseball bat? Is it absurd for invisibility and automated weaponry to exist in the 1960s? Is it ridiculous for the location of these fights to take place in the Mojave Desert, of all places? Absolutely. And yet, the game takes itself just seriously enough to where the suspense of disbelief is acceptable to hold within oneself, because the game can very efficiently sell the player on the ideal that, in spite of its outward appearance, the mechanics, team dynamics, and individual class diversity for combat make for an incredibly enjoyable experience. Now, with all that in mind, how does the banana serve this? Frankly, no cosmetics serves these fundamental goals. They're frosting on an already frosted cake. But at least with the original intention of cosmetics to just stay within as hats and be simple in design, there was at least I love this image so much. I'm just going to use this one. It's not a high quality enough image. Part of the reason TF2 was enticing enough base gave it was goofy, yes. Is it goofy for a Boston baseball runt to run around with a child's baseball bat? Is it absurd for invisibility and automated When Spy turns invisible, he turns into a sentry gun. I just decided that now. Around with a child's baseball bat. Is it absurd for invisibility and automated weaponry to exist in the 1960s? Is it ridiculous for the location of these fights to take place in the Mojave Desert of all places? Absolutely. And yet, the game takes itself just seriously enough to where the suspense of disbelief is acceptable to hold within oneself, because the game can very efficiently sell the player on the ideal that, in spite of its outward appearance, the mechanics, team dynamics, and individual class diversity for combat make for an incredibly enjoyable experience. Now, with all that in mind, how does the banana serve this? Frankly, no cosmetics serves these fundamental goals. They're frosting on an already frosted cake. But at least with the original intention of cosmetics to just stay within as hats and be simple in design, there was at least an argument to be made that this was simply the extra layers of frosting and icing that give the already well-designed cake just a little more detail. That's all well and nice, but by the time period when Funk made this video, and certainly by the Big 26 with the summer update that just recently released, breaking the matchmaking system that also celebrated its 10-year anniversary of implementation into the game, something has time period when Funk made this video, and certainly by the Big 26 with I have to start finding images of that, and then I'm going to use Non-Moth's video. Non-Moth, if you're there. I have to download this. I have to remember to like link that in the description. With the summer update that just recently released, breaking the matchmaking system that also celebrated its 10-year anniversary of implementation into the game. Guess I could use a TF2 build. Why does it always do this? All my TF2 fonts are like shifted one way too far. Whatever. The Big 20. Oh, the summer update 26 hasn't so gaudy. the time period when Funk made this video, and certainly by the six with the summer update video, and certainly by the big 26 with the summer update that just recently released, breaking the matchmaking system that also celebrated its 10-year anniversary of implementation. Oh, I should use the cosmetics. What am I thinking? Hideous. I don't even want to. Video, and certainly by the big 26 with the summer update that just recently released, breaking breaking the matchmaking system that also celebrated its 10-year anniversary of implementation into the game. Something has gone quite wrong with all of this cosmetic art style stuff. Funk correctly points out into the game. Something has gone quite wrong with all of this cosmetic art style stuff. Funk correctly points out that Valve has never exactly had good standards for what makes it into the game, regardless of who was in charge of the game, be it Robin or the Modern Fellows. He even notes that certain class-specific cosmetics were made all-class just because, and most egregiously,
Whenever an item creator updates their item, Valve generally obliges by implementing the update in-game. Most people only use this to overhaul the item years later, or to give it to another class that it fits on, but interestingly enough, Valve really didn't seem to care how far you'd push the envelope with this. You want to make the hot dogger all class? Yeah, fuck it, go
never exactly had good standards for what makes it into the game, regardless of who was in charge of the game, be it Robin or the Modern Fellows. He even notes that certain class-specific cosmetics were made all-class just because, and most egregiously, someone submitted a pyro cosmetic redone for Sniper He even notes that certain class-specific cosmetics were made all-class just because, and most egregiously, someone submitted a Funk correctly points out that Valve has never exactly had good standards for what makes it into the game, regardless of who was in charge of the game, be it Robin or the Modern Fellows. He even notes that certain class-specific cosmetics were made all-class just because, and most egregiously, someone submitted a pyro cosmetic redone for Sniper as a joke, and it got added into the game. A joke cosmetic made it into a video game with several thousand players playing each day, and that has a microeconomy circling around it that earns the developing company tens of millions of dollars a year. A joke cosmetic. Funk notes that item descriptions were ceased for seemingly no reason, which, as far as I'm concerned, was probably for the best if all we really were gonna get out of it was Scout being described as pedophilic. Don't know what the potted plant was smoking when it submitted that into the game, but keep that stuff as far away from me as possible, please. Crates and keys are cosmetic redone for Sniper as 1,000 players playing each day. A joke, and it got added into the game. A joke cosmetic made it into a video game with several thousand players playing each day, and that has a microeconomy circling around it that earns the developing company tens of millions of dollars a year. A joke cosmetic. Funk note. Company tens of millions of dollars a year. What was that again? Hazmat headgear. Hazmat head case. I swear, I'm not adding a single drop shadow. I don't know why I'm harping on that. It's just funny. A joke cosmetic. Funk notes that item description. Cosmetic. Funk notes that item descriptions were ceased for seemingly no reason, which, as far as I'm concerned, was probably for the best if all we really were going to get out of it was Scout being described as pedophilic. Probably for the best if all we really were going to get out of it was Scout. Okay. Crates and keys are nothing more than a gambling system. Crates and... Please. Crates. For the best if all we really were going to get out of it was Scout being... Possible, please. Game, but... Don't know what the potted plant was smoking when it submitted that into the game, but keep that stuff as far away from me as possible, please. That these are... This artificial rarity also... For me as possible, please. Crates and keys are nothing more than a gambling system, with rarity being incredibly artificial, considering that these are digital items that don't matter to anyone in the real world because their only purpose to anyone with an IQ above 64 is to make money through trading and the general marketplace. If it's of a rare variety, that's good news. If it's rare and unusual, forget about it. This artificial rarity also means that the rarest of the rare could be, just because they're digital items, literally anything the developer... Variety, that's good news. If it's rare and unusual, forget about it. This artificial... Wait, where's his point about the... Make it into the... Yeah, it's item tiers here. On game, only purpose for... Is the only purpose for certain cosmetics being created in the first place, which is a shame. Full set... world because their only purpose to anyone with an IQ above 64 is to make money through trading and the general marketplace. If it's of a rare variety, that's good news. If it's rare and unusual, forget about it. This artificial rarity... Super Mario 64 IQ. Pretty much. This artificial rarity also means that the rarest of the rare could be, just because they're digital items, literally anything the developers see fit. A lot of the time, I am so happy that so many of my voice lines wind up conveniently lining up with his own edits as well. That's just so perfect. It's so convenient. It tickles that little part of my brain that just, it cures whatever little amount of OCD I have. which I probably don't have, but you know. Just because they're digital items, literally anything the developers see fit. A lot of the time, the rare cosmetics wind up being the dumbest looking ones as far as the game's art style is concerned, but nobody cares because it's rare, which means there's money to be lost on gambling for it, I guess. Full sets never seem to make it into the... The Spy Banana picture is awesome. Yeah. It's so heinous. There's something just deviously diabolical about it, you know? Are you re-editing the whole video? No, this is a different video. Yes, full sets never seem to make here we go. Sense most of the time. Really, this is the only time he mentions... I could have sworn he talked about full sets. More than I guess. Full sets never seem to make it into the game, which is a shame because the only purpose for certain cosmetics being created in the first place was for a cohesive project of the full set. It only makes sense most of the time with its complementary set. Yeah, I'm not re-editing Funk's video. I'm making a video about Funk's video. Yet said sets don't make it in a lot of the time. Funk points this out quite correctly. Funk brings up unusuals next, which are easily the dumbest. It's time for a description of this mess we're currently living through. Unusuals. His transition in the speech is so funny.
Trust me, it's important. I apologize if you find my language a little unusuals have always
It's such a great segue. That's really clever. I don't typically like that kind of thing, but he really nailed it there. Points this out quite correctly. Funk brings up unusuals next, which are easily the dumbest cosmetic decision added to TF2, and it's not even close. Full-bodied cosmetic sets are stupid and just lead to an even greater excuse to degrade the art style and only remaining consistent with oneself, but at least they could be used for good if they have to be there. What in the world is good about any of this insofar as the art style of the game? Not even the good ones make sense, and it's not even... Okay, well that happened. Is that missing and is concerned? What do you mean? Hang on, let me re-listen to it. Or as the art style of the game. Not even the... What in the world is good about any of this insofar as the art style of the game? Not even... What the heck? Okay. Is it working? Jeez. For some reason, the unit that my microphone and my camera is plugged into is just turning itself on and off, even though it's not overheating. Like it did last time. It's so weird. To answer your question, Torrid, I guess it could have a... is concerned, but grammatically it still works, so I just left it as is. Even the good ones make sense, and it's not even just cosmetics. It applies to weapons, and those weapons now have kill streak. It applies to weapons, and those weapons now have kill streak kits that make your... Why would it give me the French page before the... I love how they're using the Pyros shotgun as if anyone is actually going to use Pyros shotgun for the sheen. That's so hideous. Why does everything have to be so stupid? Applies to weapons, and those weapons now have kill streak kits that make your eyes glow funny, and they shine a color contrary to what they could realistically. And it's just that make your eyes glow funny. Your eyes glow funny, and they shine a color contrary to what they could and it's just stupid. There's no other way to look at it. Stupid. There's no other way to look at it. It's just stupid. Funk doesn't bring all... Maybe I should use that one of that movie scene where that woman is like, "Oh, it's so dumb, it's brilliant." No, it's just dumb. I don't know. I could put that in multiple spots in this video. All of what I set up, but he points, again, to the principle that nothing about this makes sense. Unusuals shouldn't be in the game. Are they visually stimulating? Yeah, sure, but that doesn't matter. They shouldn't be in the game, and if you disagree, you're just wrong. To briefly add on to Funk's lightning round, paint colors are stupid because from the very beginning, it's time for a lightning round. He points, again, to the principle. Are they visually... Excuse me, goodness, I don't know if you guys can hear that. Wrong. To briefly add on to Funk's lightning round, paint colors are stupid because from the very beginning, they weren't even handled to specifically lend themselves to the art style of the game. They couldn't even be handled better because to do so would just limit the colors to the palette of the game. Because to do so would just limit... I actually think there is objectively nothing wrong with team color paints. The problem, as I say, actually, no, I'm just going to let myself say it right here. They couldn't even be handled better because to do so would just limit the colors to the palette of the game, which would be fine, but that would inevitably render the system obsolete because people wouldn't be able to just paint something whatever they wanted. This can and definitely does wreck player recognition in the heat of many games, which Funk very easily demonstrates by showing examples that can kinda be recognized, but also kinda not. Where is the team recognition point? Here we go. Yeah, the main gripe that I have with that statement is that, excuse me, team color paints are not something anyone wants to restrict themselves to, and it's also tied to another point I make later on about player expression, where the player expression crowd is generally ambivalent or anti-art style, because to express themselves properly would require it actually requires the use of colors and things that otherwise wouldn't be there if it wasn't for the paint system itself, you know? They didn't even try. They didn't even try to give the paints any sort of cohesion. Where was the They are designed to match the classes with off-color things. Waterlogged lab coat is a team color. Paint that matches the color of Medic's vest. But how is slate in the game? Who thought that was a good idea? Yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to figure out like which paints were at the... It's these. I wish I could sort these by release, because it doesn't let me do that. Purple, gray, gold, number. This? Oh, gross. Yeah, see, from the outset, the system was never designed to exactly stick to team cohesion. So it's not extraordinary abundance of tinge. Which one is that? Age mustache gray. Yeah, it's not... It doesn't work with the game. It would have just been better if paints had never made it, because the only team colors work. Yeah, I guess, but it would have never stayed this way. And besides, all of these were any of these added at the initial inception? No. When was the first team paints added? Here. They were added a year later. They were added in the Uber update. It took them a whole year to actually get around to implementing team colors that actually would adhere to the art style a little better. And I say a little because, let's be honest with ourselves, that is probably a bit too saturated, and what is even the difference between these two in the heat of battle, especially depending on color theory and how your eyes are influenced by your surroundings, like on the map and stuff. Like, according to color theory, if you're on like Harvest or something, these are totally the same. I thought this was purple for a second. Goodness. Yeah, that doesn't look right at all. I know what you mean about the slate color, though. Ugh. Ugh. Brother, ooh. Is that an appropriate use of the... Do so would just limit the colors to the palette of the game, which would be fine, but that would... This can and definitely does wreck player recognition in the heat of many games, which Funk very easily demonstrates by showing examples that can kinda be recognized, but also kinda not. With that being easily demonstrates by that being said, he also stipulated the hypothetical for a fresh install player, which would, yeah, they probably wouldn't really know what to think. There's also not enough color on a lot of cosmetics in the game nowadays, which can kinda be an excuse and kinda can't, depending on context, but again, Funk is pointing to the principle that if game nowadays, which can kinda be an excuse and kinda can't, depending on context, fixed, but again, Funk is pointing to the principle that if you're going to have cosmetics in the game, make them still work for player distinction like the no cosmetic models already do. That standard is definitely not being held up by Valve at all. You know what else isn't being held up by Valve? The cosmetics on the player models, apparently, because Funk is right. Cosmetics clip a lot, and they still do. Where was the clipping thing? These are just a piece of item for... People will probably dismiss this because you can still tell the classes apart. Is in charge of the game. Microeconomy circling around millions of dollars a year. Economy circling around it that earns the developing company tens... Wait, did I already have the portion that I needed?
Anything but the Screaming Eagle added during the end of the line update. Never actually forgot to add the cold. I know this whole video really makes me stick, and Pyro wearing a boot on his...
What a disaster!
Completely inverted client side.
Here's the clipping part.
Cosmetics are prone to no...
With all this truth nukage, so to speak, why would this... Yeah, they probably wouldn't really know what to think. There's also not enough color on a lot of cosmetics. What else isn't being held up by Valve? The cosmetics on the player models, apparently, because Funk is right. Cosmetics clip a lot, and they still do that. I'm pretty sure my own cosmetics I got a while back clip a lot, and they still do that. And they still do that. I'm pretty sure my own cosmetics I got a while back still clip. Heck, my own thumbnail maker can't make certain cosmetics not clip into the models or other cosmetics, and he's a pro. Now, Funk does end the video by saying that he doesn't really mind if the art style is pushed a bit, with bugs being minimal and something like Pyro wearing a boot on his head not exactly hurting anyone. Oh no. He does also distinguish...
Guess I have to change all my passwords now.
Oh
well.
Not clip into the models or other cosmetics, and he's a pro. Now, and they still do that. I'm pretty sure my own cosmetics I got a while back... Heck, my own thumbnail maker can't make certain cosmetics not clip into the models or other cosmetics, and he's a pro. Now,
I need an excuse to talk about my thumbnail maker. He does not get the love and appreciation he deserves.
heck, my own thumbnail maker can't make certain cosmetics not clip into the models or other cosmetics, and he's a pro. Now, Funk does end the video by saying mind if the art style is pushed a bit, with bugs being minimal and...
I know this whole video really makes me come off as a hard ass, but I don't care that much about that. But I don't care that much about them pushing the art style. You know, the buds are pretty minimalistic, and Pyro wearing a boot on his head isn't really gonna hurt anybody. But there's a pretty thick line between contextually comical and just fucking stupid.
What a disaster!
It's okay. You don't have to scream. Saying that he doesn't really mind if the art style is pushed a bit, with bugs being minimal and something like Pyro wearing a boot on his head not exactly hurting anyone. He does also distinguish not exactly hurting anyone. He doesn't really mind if the art style is pushed a bit, with bugs. Now, Funk does end the video by saying that he doesn't really mind if the art style is pushed a bit, with bugs being minimal and something like Pyro wearing a boot on his head not exactly hurting anyone. He does also distinguish that there's a pretty big difference between something mildly acceptable and something that looks like you took a crack map like Cyberpunk and made it into a player model, and something that looks like you took a crack...
I have to find that. That actually would be kind of funny. Actually, it might be in here. Yeah, it is in here. I was correct. I already have an image. I don't need to download it. Yes.
You took a crack map like Cyberpunk and made it into a player model. And made it into a
There we go. Cool.
crack map like Cyberpunk and made it into a player.
You say crack map like that's a common term everyone uses all the time. Well, that's why I provide an example like Cyberpunk. I thought people knew what a crack map was. I don't know. I learned it from somebody who also referred to it as though everyone knew it. I didn't know that more people didn't know that. I do provide the example, but
Contextual comedy aside, what Funk has illustrated through this whole video is that the standard of TF2's art style still exists independent of opinion, and he does allude to the thought that even he doesn't mind too terribly much so long as it's accomplished tastefully. As nice as that is, this is perhaps the only flaw in his video. So there's a... Oh.
Just gonna drop it over here and just keep it into the dump. Pretty sure you are the first guy I've ever heard it from. Never heard of the term no ball knowledge. Oh. Well, now I feel stupid. Could have sworn this was a common term. Does it come up with something? Oh, no, that's not what it is. No, that's not what it is either. Do you guys... I'm pretty sure, from the way it was explained to me, is that a crack map is a map that has no point in any sense. This map in particular has literally no objective. It's just a run around and experience the madness that it provides to you. It's not actually a map that has any designated goal. And I thought people knew that. Yeah, I probably should have done that. Not Crack House, no. No. No, that's not what that is either, I don't think. Oh my gosh, this is not a correct term at all. You can watch one of these two videos from Redline. He says the term a fair bit, so I thought it was a common term. I thought it was a common term. Because he talks about crack maps. Grok managed to find what it is and provide references. Yorguchi. Okay. Gosh dang it, man.
Funk and made it into a player model. Contextual comedy aside, what Funk has illustrated through this whole video is that the standard of TF2's art style still exists independent of opinion, and he does allude to the thought that even he doesn't mind too terribly much so long as it's accomplished tastefully. As nice as that is, this is perhaps the only flaw in his video. For as much as his intro said that some things were objective and some things were subjective, this is pretty much the only genuinely subjective sentence in the entire video, and it's just to outline that he's not really the things were subjective. For as much as his intro said, this is pretty much the only genuinely subjective sentence in the entire video, and it's just to outline that he's not really the strictest about it, but it gets to a point where you wonder how far back you'd have to revert stuff for things to even make sense for the game again. Regardless of his own sentimentality, what his video has accomplished is a fairly brief, yet shockingly objective and very much accurate criticism of the state of TF2's art style. He never mentioned any of his criticisms as personal feelings, he actually just says that they're just problems through and through. This is pretty gutsy considering how easy it is to make some people whiny about that sort of phrasing, but he was right about basically everything he said. The principle, so to speak, of TF2's art style has not been upheld, and it's deteriorated to such an extent where the title Death of an Art Style is honestly the mild description of this mess we're currently living through. So overall, a very good video, definitely relevant for today, applying beyond cosmetics to even the very map design, though that was definitely true even back in 2017 too. With all this truth nukage, so to speak, I should use redwood for that. Excuse me. Wee. Zip lines, yay, yeah. I just need to sort this by launch so that I can get some, Oh my gosh, is it not going to process the whole page or what? There we go. Date added. 2017. What maps broke the art style in 2017? Well, anything jungle, to be perfectly real with you. Banana Bay, for sure. Brazil, for sure. Maybe I should just use Mercenary Park because I actually hate Mercenary Park. As much as Pikachu Frankie would love to kill me for saying that. What is it? Redwood? What is this? Was there even a CTF map added into... No, there wasn't. Okay, fine. Sure, taking your... Why is an autumn map in the summer update? What is the purpose of this? What? Bonfire? What? Okay, you know what? I don't have time to gawk at map cancer. I don't think I should use that one, but... Actually, you know what? Yeah, that's pretty good. for this mess we're currently living through. So, overall, he said, the Prince style. He never mentioned any of his criticisms as personal feelings. He actually, definitely relevant for today, applying beyond cosmetics to even the very map design, though that was definitely even the very map design, though that was definitely oh. There were okay, Torrid, I saw your chat, and I looked at the image again, and I genuinely, like, I was gonna do it, and then I was like, wait, where's the payload cart? I can't see. Where's the track even? It's all the way down here. Ah! I couldn't find it. I didn't see it. It doesn't stick out, which is weird because you think it would, but like it doesn't. Map design, though that was definitely true even back in 2017 too. With I don't even think I nicely, I don't even think I need to do what you said, because like I couldn't even find it on my own, and I'm editing. Though that was definitely true even back in 2017 too. With all this truth nukage, so to speak, why would this warrant a rediscussion? Well, Funky Boy over here is a pretty popular dude, so whatever he says in the TF2 world can. It feels unfair to Mercenary Park to compare it to Zipline Map. True, but it still breaks the art style, and that is worth notating very clearly. Pretty popular dude, so whatever he says in the TF2 world can send ripple effects across the conversation, and even directly inspire and influence it just because he jumped in. Fast forward to about 2 or 3 years ago, TF2 world can send ripple effects. I actually know the perfect example for this. After generally praising his video, calling him Funky Boy is a bit of a tonal whiplash. Yeah, fair. I don't know if I told you, but this is meant to be an exercise on my more unscripted and less edited thoughts, so I'm not exactly going to go back and fix that. But the whiplash is also there for a reason. I'm pretty sure UFR did a video about funk. Or they did a didn't they do a review of his I Miss TF2 video back when it came out? Could have sworn they did. Yes, they did. It was this one. I'm so glad I remembered. TF2 world can send ripple TF2 world can send ripple effects across the conversation, and even directly inspire. and even directly in... Wait, that was 2 years ago. That is the right one, right? Funky boy. Oh, that's the state of movement shooters. Gosh dang it. I was incorrect. I might have to delete it. Is it this one then? Thought they did a video about that specific video. I guess they didn't. Shoot. I have misremembered. Death of an art style. No. I guess I could... Whoa, that's back when he had longer hair. It's crazy. I suppose I could just do this one right here, which is the art style. Although it's not exactly consistent. Oh, man. I'll figure it out. Give me a minute. Oh. Drop it in. Forward to about 2 or 3 years. Episode 1 had this video. Okay. Then you know what? I'm going to delete this screenshot and I'm just going to reuse this one. Because that'll fit. Oh, that'll fit better. To world can send ripple effects across. Can send ripple effects across the conversation and even directly in the conversation and even directly inspire and influence it just because he jumped in. Fast forward to about 2 or 3 years ago, and Funk has, I kid you not, gone back on his video to a margin very much understated by the community and even himself. This comes in the form of a contribution to a forum thread that started as a discussion about the Emporium, their stranglehold on the TF2 cosmetic scene, and an overall lack of team recognition as a result of the... Fast forward to about 2 or 3 years ago, this comes in the form of a contribution to a forum. This comes in the form of a contribution to a forum thread that started as a discussion about the Emporium, their stranglehold on the TF2 cosmetic scene, and an overall lack of team recognition. Let's do TF2. That text is a bit big. Nope. Should it be this font or should it be the one with actual lowercase letters? I'm going to use the one with lowercase letters. cosmetic scene, and an overall lack of team recognition as a result of the damage done to the art style. The contents of this nuisance of a thread is not the subject of this video going forward, but among a great deal of crapping on Richter over time and Zesty Jesus because they commit the sin of being passionate about this subject, and frankly being right about the subject to a degree they do not get enough credit for, Funk was brought up as a YouTuber that contributed to the discussion. In fact, he was brought up as a direct reply to this post that just throws Richter under the bus for no reason. In fact, he was brought up as a direct reply to this post that just throws Richter under the bus for no reason. So, Funk responded.
Actually, I should probably show that too. Come on. I don't want to be on this thread any longer than I have to. Older YouTubers like Funk. Was Funk brought up? Okay, so that was on page 2. Yeah.
For no reason. So, Funk responded to a degree they do not get enough credit for. Funk was brought up as a YouTuber that contributed to the discussion. In fact, he was brought up as a direct reply to this post that just throws Richter under the bus for no reason. So, Funk responded with what reads purely as a capitulation to a disgruntled mob. I circled back around to liking weird and tacky loadouts because I just find them really objectively funny. Objectively funny. That doesn't make any sense at all. If Funk's preference is for grounded cosmetics, why would he need to start defending the cosmetics he very rightly pointed out were a problem? Heck, Funk criticized the system as a whole, and while his video was brief, there was an incredible deal of substance to glean from what he discussed. He pointed to the failure on players creating cosmetics and Valve for not upholding the standard the game had set upon release. Now he's arguing that TF2's design principles are so strong that even in extreme circumstances, it's rare for a player to struggle identifying a class or team alignment. This directly goes against what he pointed out in
I'll probably do my best to highlight this, but I'm going to try to get the element in here first, and I'll go back and highlight it.
This directly goes against what he pointed out in his video. And even if that was true, the point of his team recognition examples in his video is that the problem exists, or at least has the potential to exist. It doesn't matter if 99% of people don't paint their cosmetics in a fashion that destroys team recognition, in the way that Funk outlined. The problem still exists, and that's the crux of what Funk pointed towards, regardless of his intent to do so. Keep in mind this intent thing, because it gets pretty important from this point on. Like, alright, you got flanked by a pyro because you thought...
If you want to do highlights, it's much easier to do them externally, and then just import the image. Oh. I might do that. Here, let me see if I can...
Objectively funny. If Funk's preference...
Dang it, that means I'm going to have to snag all the screenshots again and have to re-screenshot them. I feel like I could just draw a rectangle, though. If you're comfortable with video editing in your software, you may as well. I mean, that's what this new graphics card is for. This is meant to finally stop a bunch of problems from happening. Let me see. Okay, hang on. You know what? Let me just go here. Okay, there's no highlight preset, so what I'm going to have to do is... Okay, I know what I have to do, but it's going to be really tedious, so I'm going to do it later. I'm going to have to create blanks and decrease their transparency a ton and just color them funny. Ouch.
This directly goes against what he pointed out in his video. And even if that was true, the point of his team recognition examples in his video is that the problem exists, or at least has the potential to exist to do so. Keep in mind this intent thing, because it gets pretty important from this point on. Like, alright, you got flanked by a pyro because you thought he was on your team. Laugh it off and move on. It's genuinely not a big deal. Isn't? It's genuinely not a big deal. Isn't it? The reality is, Funk can't say this with any shred of personal honesty or integrity without first proving it. He very effortlessly proved it through his own video that this is actually a very big deal. Even outside of his video, I think the fact that the game is more colloquially known as a hat simulator is pretty damning evidence that this game isn't remembered as the genuine piece of art it started as. Was it even perfect when it started? No, but it was a heck of a lot more cohesive than right now. So if Funk is to go back on what he described, he needs some evidence toward the contrary of his video in a way that still makes sense, and even more sense than the video did and still does. How would we know if he does that? Well, he started interacting with folks in his comment section. He pinned a comment a couple years ago noticing that the video was getting popular again, and that he still agrees with it. So why did he say things contrary to his own points on that forum? Well, he clarifies.
Oh, it's just if you have an image editor, drawing rectangles is really easy. I don't have an image editor, unless you count Microsoft Paint.
Is that the TF2 of today is a result of...
Could I do it in Microsoft Paint? I can't adjust transparency. I can't believe I'm actually trying to do this in Microsoft Paint.
Of Valve poorly planning things and intentionally being lenient with their art style restrictions for the sake of player expression. He's
photop.com. Free in the browser, huh? Start using. Oh. All right. I will get around to doing this when I'm done with the general editing. But I shall take note of this. Thank you.
He seems to be forgetting that players also have... By making... He seems to be forgetting that players also have a responsibility to make things becoming of the game they're essentially working for by making items to submit into it in the first place, like cosmetics, war paints, unusuals, and maps. But yes, Valve certainly is to blame for being exactly what the players of their games commonly expect by this point in history. A bunch of inept and lazy cruds. Funk says that he's upset. That being that Valve has intentionally lifted their own restrictions. This is genuinely irrelevant. In fact, it makes it worse that Valve has lifted their own restrictions, since that means the game has the potential free license to be whatever it wants. Just as a little note for you viewers, if you care even a little bit about the identity a piece of art that you love holds independent of anyone else's opinion, that should shock and rattle you. If it doesn't, you should be questioning your love for those things. Just saying. There are, however, two words in here, just two, that effectively toxify the discussion in terms of its potential to maintain any shred of logical congruency. Player expression. What does it mean for a player to express themselves? As far as mechanics go in any video game, generally it means... There we go. Oh, you're working on a response to Funk. I just got here. Yup. This is my little side project so that I can actually get something up on the channel before the sniper video. I feel bad for having left you all hung and dry for 5 months. Player expression. What does it mean for a player to express themselves? As far as mechanics go in any video game, generally it means nothing. Players utilize the mechanics the game naturally provides to the best of their ability, assuming they're playing the game with the intent the game itself was designed for, which is completion, to whatever extent that means for the context of the game. For TF2, this would mean completing the objective of the game to whatever that entails for whatever team is being played on and what game mode is being played. So what would player expression mean in terms of cosmetics? And since this really is the root of the discussion, how would that contribute towards the death of TF2's art style? Player expression in this case would just be whatever you want to apply to your character, right? Well, it's a bit more complicated than that. Let's assume that all TF2 cosmetics adhere to the art style of the game. To apply a cosmetic, or if the game still has the 3 cosmetic system, a group of cosmetics, would be to distinguish yourself from everyone else. This player distinction is not the same as player expression as people presently understand it. Player distinction is simply the choice to look unique to yourself because you want to. Player expression, on the other hand, implies a deeper purpose. What does it mean to express yourself? In terms of facial expressions, they are used to communicate how someone feels non-verbally. To express something, then, is to make a statement about how you feel, what you think, and possibly even deeper things. So, if we're talking about player expression in a video game, we're talking really about what players choose to say about themselves and wear on their sleeves, so to speak, for all in this public game to see. When TF2 just had the first set of hats, you were either someone who had a hat for the class or you weren't. The hatted classes were distinct from the hatless players, so to speak, but that alone is not player expression. That is player distinction. Player expression requires a large variety to choose from to accurately construct an expression of oneself. In this sense, a vast number of items to customize oneself, like cosmetics, killstreak kits, war paints, weapon cosmetics, and even the HUD and graphics configuration for someone to use in gameplay. This is why, and I think I can say this safely, the pro-player expression crowd generally has either no opinion about the art style degradation or are very negative towards the art style preservationists, so to speak. How could they accurately express themselves if they didn't have the variety the game now provides? Imagine just how stifling it would be if the game had cosmetic choices that only adhered to the game's art design. That's not broad enough of a spectrum for expression, after all. At a certain point, game developers have to make a choice. Do they design the game with this level of massive expression in mind, even to the point of potentially axing any art style that could be otherwise had, and just have the expression itself be the art style? Or do they design the game with a specific presentation in mind and align everything after that point with that presentation as much as possible? For TF2, the latter was chosen and the former was re-chosen, as if the choice was ever something they could go back to. Reality dictates differently. And before I hear anything in my comment section, no, this isn't my opinion, and no, this isn't up for debate. Truth exists irrespective of whether we as people like it or not in the moment, and the truth of this particular matter is that a choice was made. A choice that was not adhered to and, by consequence, destroyed the game's internal integrity from a visual standpoint, and probably even further than that if the relevance of this particular conversation extended to weapon design and functionality as well. It doesn't matter if the expression people might have wanted was possible to accomplish. It obviously was. The point isn't that the choice could always have been made by the developers at any point in history by the nature of TF2 being a live service game. What matters is whether or not that choice should have ever been made. The point is that the choice was always a bad one to make, especially in conjunction with what amplified and essentially incentivizes the art style rot, to the point where we're at now, basically serving as the logical conclusion of the system it introduced, the Manconomy update. So to draw the point back to where it started, what does player expression mean for TF2? At its core, nothing good. Player distinction, though never intended expressly from the mouth of Robin Walker himself, is a fine design principle to stick to if you have to implement something like cosmetics for your game, since it introduces player distinction without corrupting the identity of the game like what player expression would undoubtedly require when pushed to its logical extent. And let me be very clear, the player distinction principle wasn't even adhered to properly in terms of sticking with the game's vibe when hats were first introduced. 4 of the 9 original hats don't fit the art style nor thematic tone of the game. Why would a drunk demolitions man from Scotland be getting a perm for disco night? Why would the pyromaniac, a man described more as a monster within the semi-cartoonish tone of the game's official descriptions, wear a child's beanie? Mind you, this is before Meet the Pyro was released, so an argument can't be made here about it being a meta-reference to that introductory short. Not that such an argument would work in the first place, since meta-references are stupid anyway, for the same reason as the banana, it's just dumb. Why would Medic, the natural primary target of the enemy every time he's alive, be wearing an old Prussian war helmet?
I'm gonna have to get better.
Why would a drunk hats were first introduced? 4 of the 9 original hats.
I'm gonna have to really get this tightened up.
Nor thematic tone of the game. Why would a drunk...
Let's see, we get the fro, we get the beanie, and we get the football helmet as well. Holy cow, you can paint it to look like that? Oh, that makes it even worse. Oh. Gross, man. You could mention that in Meet the Pyro himself is an adult, the other mercs are babies. Oh, yeah, that's true. I didn't even realize that. Oh. No, I'm not lying about that. Look. Look. You can paint it every color, regardless of the team you're on. Oh. This is what I was talking about earlier, right? About the team colors. How in the world is this yellow supposed to be different from this orange for blue? How am I supposed to know that this is blue and that this is red in the heat of a moment, especially when color theory is applied in game? Actually, now that I think about it, that looks a bit too Donald Trumpish. You just got to bring it forward a bit more, and it kind of looks more like his stuff. I've never seen anyone paint the furrow either, but I guess it's possible. Maybe you have seen like the black fro and you've just never known because it looks so similar to the standard like really dark brown one. You've seen the Zesty Jesus player expression vid from his second channel? Yeah, I do. I have seen that video. I've watched it a long time ago. That was a good video. Black Donald.
Why would a drunk demolitions man from Scotland be getting a perm for disco night? Why would the pyromaniac, a man described more as a monster within the semi-cartoon pyromaniac...
Actually, I need a... What was it? The class descriptions. Where are those official class descriptions? I want to see them. It's here. Do all the classes get that? They should, right? Yeah. I actually kind of want to see if there's more to this. If I actually look at more class. I'm going to download this one and then this one as well. I'm going to take a look at that one in a moment. Let me delete just close these two windows. I'm just going to drop these in here real quick. Scotland be getting a I love being able to use these official resources. Why would the pyromaniac, a man described more as a monster within the semi-cartoonish tone of the game's official descriptions, wear a child's beanie? Mind you, this is before Meet the Pyro was released, so an argument can't be made here about it being a meta-reference to that introductory short. Not that such an argument would work in the first place, since meta-references are stupid anyway for the same reason as the banana. It's just dumb. Why would Medic, the natural primary target of the enemy every time he's alive, be wearing an old Prussian war helmet with a spike that gives his position away from behind cover, especially in an environment helmet with a spike that be wearing an old Prussian war helmet with a spike that gives his position away from behind cover, especially in an environment where snipers exist. Why would Heavy, a Russian, be wearing an American football helmet? The sport didn't even enter the country until 1989, which is the sport didn't even enter the country until 1989, which is 18 years after the latest point the in-game universe can possibly take place in, according to Funk. That's actually funny. I wanted to mention that too. Yeah, Funk actually mentions that. Pretty sure it's in one of these clips that I saved. If not, I'll just cut through the video and try to find it. Nope, that's just the outro. Here we go.
1971, by the way. 1971, by the way. That's the latest time TF2 in-game takes place. Oculus Rift was founded in, like, 2013? A couple years after 1971. I know I keep referencing this 1971. I know.
It's actually really funny. Oh. Should I have it muted? Enter the country until 1989. The in-game which is 18 years after. I think I can just scoot everything down to make room for that. In, according to Funk.
1971, by the way.
It is actually foreshadowing the thermal thruster Pyro wanted to fly from the beginning. See the helicopter hat. Don't say that, dude.
That's the latest time TF2 in-game takes place. Oculus Rift was founded in, like, 2013? A couple years after 1971.
And even with that in mind, the sport didn't even
resolved in 1991. Only 5 out of the 9 hats get an approval rating insofar as adherence to the player distinction standard and the art style as a whole, and that is not a passing grade by any stretch of the imagination. Honestly, the mining light still kind of annoys me because it's only fitting insofar as the Gold Rush theming. And that is not Mining light is one of the least offensive, considering a lot of the game does take place around mining facilities. Yes, true. It's not the core of the game, though, nor does it lean into their class functions. The rest of them work really well because they lean into the class functions. I don't know how bad this is look. Only 5. Oh, that looks terrible. Never mind. What if I just scooted all the way down here? Get an approval rating insofar as adherence to the player distinction standard and the art style as a whole, and not a passing grade. Try secondary for a block of text like this. It'll be easier to read. Okay. Also note on the left and move the engineer to the right. Okay. So they don't overlap. Yeah, that makes more sense. Thanks. I'm going to center it too. So I'll try to, sorry, blood. I'm just going to scoot you out of the way here. Elbow's going to bleed off a little bit, but that's fine. It doesn't touch. Only 5 out of the 9 hats get an approval rating insofar as adherence to the player distinction standard and the art style as a whole, and that is not a passing grade by any stretch of the... All right, give me one moment. I got to take care of something. I'm back. Every time I see a promotional hat in game that isn't Left 4 Dead or Left 4 Dead 2, makes me mad or confused. I didn't even know there were Left 4 Dead tie-ins. I actually might just do this and have the images of the other classes be... Oh, they got Bill's hat in the game? Okay. Oh, yes. A less saturated red. Alright. I might just... what if I just spike? What if I actually just maximize the saturation? That looks better. I don't know. That is brighter, so I guess I could just stick with that for the time being, but I might have to go back and edit all the text elements in the video now. Desaturate. Ah, but I love my saturation. I understand though. I will take care of that in a moment. I'm gonna just scoot this guy over here. Oh, wrong button. Oh, it's freaking out a little bit. I actually don't know how big I'm supposed to keep these. Oh, you know what I could do? Maybe is this one gold color I really like. Maybe that would work better. It's because the font itself is so skinny. That's what I blame it on. Okay, calm down. There we go. Now for the sniper. Scale him down to about 50. Down here. And then get the spy. Why is Soldier so big? Goodness. Okay, well now he's too small. Gosh dang it. Ah, that's fine. Make Sniper a little bigger. Yeah, there we go. Hang on, I know what I'm doing. Give me a second. There we go. Just for right now. Only 5 out of the 9 hats get an approval rating insofar as adherence. Huh? Oh. Soldier's Stash is the best hat from the collection, if not the entire game. Agreed. My outline? Oh, like the the border. Maybe. What happens if I turn it off? That doesn't change anything. The outline isn't that thick. Only 5 out of the... Soldier is striking a mean pose in that picture. True. Like he's about to decide where to place his bucket. I used to enjoy intense saturation a lot, had the color on my TV up to 80 at one point, then it started to become too much and I realized I no longer liked it, so I brought it down to 60. Yeah, same. I just still like putting my text elements in high saturation because it's distinct for myself to read, but that's probably a massive cope on my part. So I understand why I need to not do that. I'm just having it more so as a placeholder now. Resolved in 1991. Only 5 out of the 9 hats get an approval rating. Oh, why did it oh, man. Out of the 9 hats get an approval rating insofar as adherence to the player distinction standard and the art style as a whole. And that is... I'm not supposed to show this. And that is not a passing grade by any stretch of the imagination. Why does this look more professional than anything I've ever done? Regardless, I suppose you... regardless, you say 5 out of the 9 and show 4, which feels a bit strange. Well, that's why I'm bringing this guy in as on the end. Maybe show all 5 and then have the slide. Oh. Ah, okay. And then I could just have a massive asterisk on his face. All right. I will make room for him. Bump this up and drag the mining light in here. Scoot him over. So he'll be in the middle. Just keep scale at about 30, no, 40. 40's fine. And then we'll scale you down to about 40. Scale you down to about 40, which apparently you already are at. It'll be a little crammed, but that's okay. This isn't really intended to be the most professional thing in the world. This is really just to get the point across. Come on, Spy, cooperate with me here. Fine. Be that way. Now I need an asterisk that's like the size of the sun in TF2 build font, which will be this. In the orange color that I was, or the yellow gold color I was talking about earlier. I'm going to center it. And then I'm going to start moving it around as its own entity. Scale up huge. Max it out even. And then move it to engineer's face. It's like the Walmart star. Replace engineer's head with the asterisk. Yeah. Perhaps if the background wasn't black, you could add less saturated text or an outline with or shadow. Probably what's going to be in the background is background footage. The reason it's black is because there's not any background footage to replace it right now. The reason that looks professional is because it's framed with the rule of thirds and not just centered. True. Only 5 out of the 9 hats get an approval rating insofar as adherence to more often to the player distinction standard and the... Although to be fair, I'm probably going to blur the background footage so that all of these elements actually stick out more, because otherwise it's going to look gross if it's like just actual raw gameplay and then this with no means of distinguishing it, but no drop shadows. No drop shadows whatsoever. Rating insofar as only 5 out of the 9 hats get an approval rating insofar as adherence. Maybe I should bring this down 1. Only 5 out of the 9 hats get an approval rating. Oh, could use a thin outline or a gasp. And the art style. Never. I'd rather do thin outlines before I do a drop shadow. 1. Only 5 out of the 9 hats get an approval rating insofar as adherence to the player distinction standard and the art style as a whole. And that is not a passing grade by any stretch of the imagination. Regardless, I suppose you could say that the fervent attempt was made, and at least they got 5 right. Maybe Valve would learn better in the future, and they kinda did and kinda didn't. After Manconomy, the update that essentially incentivized. Since it's orange, it blended hard with his hat and skin. Oh. Should it be white? I think white would be a better color for him, for this then. Maybe white. Oh yeah, totally. That's better. That's way better. Would learn better in the future, and they cohesion. The fate of the game's art style in terms of cosmetics was pretty much sealed to permanent calcification. This is the consequence of what Funk points out in this pinned comment. Abandonment of their own restrictions, if they were even there in the first place. Keep in mind, Manconomy was released. This is the consequence of what Funk points out in this pinned comment. Alright, where's that comment? Give it to me. Give it to me. I must have it. Or even there in the first place. Keep in mind, Manconomy was released on September 30 of 2010. The first community contribution update was released on March 18th of 2010. In that update, there's more items that don't fit the vibe of the game already, so the standard was never there to begin with. At that point, player expression be damned. It doesn't matter what kind of statement people wanted. Keep in mind, wait till you find out about inset shadows. No, that's crazy. Okay, so I think this might just be a placeholder, I don't know. This one, however. This was also the one that brought in the first unusual effect. Oh my gosh. And it introduced more stupid stuff. So hang on. FCCU. Cosmetics. And then we'll do this one, and I'll make a note of saying that this is the first ever. Why is it not even set? Whatever. You know what? Screw it. I'm just going to do the whole thing. I'll deal with it later. Is this the first unusual in the game? This is the first unusual effect in the game, right? Series 1 was added in the Man Economy update. But this update is before Man Economy by 9 months. Or not 9 months, sorry. 6 months. The Pyro one is a Futurama reference. Place. Keep in mind, Man Economy was released on September 30 of 2010. Yeah, I'll scale it down. Shouldn't be that blurry. September 30 of 2010. The first community contribution update was released on March 18th of 2010. In that update, there's more items that don't fit the vibe. I don't know how small I should make it. A lot of this is subject to change. In that update, there's more items that don't fit the vibe of the game already. So the standard was Oh gosh, now the outline is screwed up. And the text is white. How's this gonna look? This is gonna be so scuffed. So the standard... Yeah, that is scuffed. Holy cow. No. There to begin with. I don't know why this thing centers so poorly. So the standard was never there to begin with. Okay, so how does this sequence look all good? This is the consequence of what Funk points out in this pinned comment. Abandonment of their own restrictions, if they were even there in the first place. Keep in mind, Man Economy was released on September 30 of 2010. The first community contribution update was released on March 18th of 2010. In that update, there's more items that don't fit the vibe of the game already, so the standard was never there to begin with. At that point, player expression be damned. It's a little out of sync. So the standard was never there to begin with. At that point, player expression be damned. It doesn't matter what kind of statement people wanted to make about themselves in-game. They could do that someplace else. If it meant destroying the game's art style, it doesn't matter. But alas, it seems that Valve thought that if they could sufficiently deceive the community into believing that the art style of the game was indeed ever-evolving, in spite of the very blatant choice made from release day that proves the contrary, then that would guarantee them enough key sales to make enough money to just keep doing that same thing over and over and over and over and over again. Anyways, Funk's main point is that he doesn't walk back. But have you considered that not having a standard is a standard in and of itself? That final part is a walk back of the entire thesis of his video, so I don't know why he'd pretend to still agree. He doesn't walk back on any of his points. He just finds awful loadouts funnier today than he did before. that final part is a walk back of the entire thesis of his video, so I don't know why he'd pretend to still agree with his past words while also expressly stating that he doesn't. This is something pointed out by another notable figure in the TF2 community, and certainly far more relevant of a person as far as current discussions about the game. This profane name. Oh, this is my favorite part. He and Funk have a back and forth where Zesty rightly calls out Funk's walkback as exactly that. And while he does get terms like player expression wrong and to what extent it applies, his general thoughts are correct. Funk responds with This is my favorite part of the whole video, man. Okay, so it's at this point where I can probably start dropping all of it in. Or here, hang on. I gotta delete these so I can do it in order. Just to be safe. 1, 2, and 3. You could read it as Jesus in Spanish. Maybe. How the unrestrained level of player expression in TF2 now is fundamentally what makes the game unique. This is obviously untrue, as you can look at plenty of other live service games that forgo a cohesive art style in place of unrestrained levels of player expression. I point to the Krobycat video about Call of Duty just as one of many examples. For those of you who don't know what that is. I need to download this one. Yeah, this one. There's no E in Krobycat. I don't know. Do people call him Krobycat? Because I thought I would emphasize the E. Maybe I'm wrong. Insert a clip of a very garbled text-to-speech in some random language. It's the Italian filler in like the Mario or Luigi voice. I'm actually planning on just dropping that. Is it Krobycat? Yeah, I don't know. But it's I was planning on dropping that entire video segment, or like at least parts of it. It's like selective parts of it here in the video timeline, so that I could just have fun editing that. that. I'd assume it's from Crowbar. Yeah, I assumed the same thing. Alright, almost done, almost done, almost done. Come on. There we go. Give me the video. Add the clip as is. Okay. This is where I get to have some fun and just edit somebody else's video again. About just like regarding just how completely terrible it is. Oh, the audio isn't loading. RIP. I'm trying to, because there's like a greatest hits element of this whole ordeal, you know? I know that I want this ending part though. If the audio would process. Did it not download the audio? The heck? Oh, it did download the audio. Well, then what's going on here? You've been banned from your headphones, sorry. Oh, rip. I kind of just want to like stitch together various parts of this in a not very long. I don't want it to be very long or anything like that, but I do want it to be like dang it. Oh, now it loads the audio? Now it loads the audio. Of which there is upon favor, and I'd probably deserve it. Wait, where are the segment? Oh, here we go. Examples. There we go. I should just delete all of these other funk clips, because they're not going to help me now. Which platform? There we go. There we go. All right. Yeah, I don't like this music though.
Truth is.
Oh, please.
Look in the dark.
This is perfect. Oh, right. It's muted because there was a copyright problem. Gosh.
I shouldn't.
This is a funny part. I'm going to keep that.
We're keeping it strict.
Pull up in a monster.
We're keeping it strict.
Pull up.
Player expression, huh?
You could be the.
Oh, yeah, stop. Just going to chop you there. I'm going to let the cringe.
Time's up.
I'm going to let the cringe play out.
Bang.
I'm going to let the cringe play out before then dropping the video right here. I should just flash text on the screen that says player expression, huh? My face when I hear another person make a player expression argument. If this traumatizes anyone that watches my videos, I do not apologize, because it is funny. Oh. This whole war was nothing short of a tragedy. Jeez. Crossfade this part.
Shoot Nazis. They die. That's my plan. Pull up in a monster automobile gangster. You could be the. Bang. Bang.
Yeah, night and day. Oh, yeah. I'm not gonna dwell on the cringe in the same way that Kroger Cat does. I'm just gonna let the atmosphere sink itself. Yeah, I know. Don't overstay the point. Yeah. Maybe I should just axe this part then, because that is feeling a bit long. I did want to include this final part because I like the music, but it's a bit long. Yeah, I should get back to the point, frankly. I'm going to scale this down though, because I've been doing that with all the other videos. It is hideous that stuff like this is in the game. Part of me can't believe it because I knew kids that would play this series of video game a lot, and it was always one of those games that always had an allure of mystery and horror to it because it was a war game, and my parents didn't let me play war games as a child because we were a Nintendo family. That wasn't a thing. So to see where it's at now and like look back at the games that you know, my friends used to play, like the one or two friends I knew that had an Xbox 360, because let's be honest, most of my friends had Nintendos. It was it's jarring to see the comparison now. You have to keep this tangential cause, otherwise people will think your point is that TF2 should be that serious. Oh, no. I don't mean that at all. This is obviously untrue, as you can look at plenty of other live service games that forego a cohesive art style in place of unrestrained levels of player expression. I point to the Kroby Cat video about Call of Duty just as one of many examples.
I shoot Nazis. They die. That's my plan.
Okay, maybe that's not necessary. I can just have examples. The hyper cringe.
Pull up in a monster automobile gangster. You could be the bang, bang.
Maybe I'll just cut it there. Funk makes the critical mistake of fighting Zesty on the basis of complacency. The imported audio is a lot louder. Oh. Yeah, you're right, it is. Do I... Well, guys, hang on, is this... According to Funk.
1971 by...
Okay, it is louder than mine universally. Okay. I'm gonna cut it in half across the entire channel. Oh, wait, no, I can't. Oh, shoot, this is the wrong video channel. Okay, give me a moment. I'm gonna drop these into a new channel and just universally lower the audio there. Take place in, according to Funk.
1971, by the way. That's the latest time.
Okay, that's loud enough. I think that's one of many examples.
Pull up in a
That's still too loud. Gosh dang it.
monster auto.
Examples.
Pull up in a monster automobile gangster.
Okay, that's fine, but then what about this? Possibly take place in, according to Funk.
1971.
Okay, that's too quiet. I'll just amplify this individually. Push 150 would be fine. According to Funk.
1971, by the way. That's the latest time TF2 in-game takes place. Oculus Rift was founded in, like, 2013? A couple years after 1971.
And I love how war games just went from honoring the dead while showing the cruelty of mankind to Nicki Minaj pulling up to a serious war in a pink tank.
Gangster. You could be the bang, bang.
Yeah. Funk makes the... It's not even close, dude. Funk makes the critical mistake of fighting Zesty on the basis of complacency, and I say mistake because he fails to define it properly. Zesty previously called him... So is it here? No, it's not here. I need this one still. I need this element. Yeah, that's shortened to the point. Okay, cool. I could make it shorter. If I have to make it shorter, I know what to cut. Just... Actually, you know what? Here, let me watch the whole part through again. This profane name, he and Funk have a back and forth where Zesty rightly... Actually, you know what would be really funny is just drop that and zoom in like really hard into the... There we go. You can cut the bang bang clip. Yeah, okay, I'll do that. Could probably shorten the hard to top Nicki Minaj and the Homelander. Yeah. The game. This profane name. He and Funk have a back and forth where Zesty rightly calls out Funk's walk back as exactly that. And while he does get terms like player expression wrong and to what extent it applies, his general thoughts are correct. Funk responds with fake sentimentality about how the unrestrained level of player expression in TF2 now is fundamentally what makes the game unique. This is obviously untrue, as you can look at plenty of other live service games that forego a cohesive art style in place of unrestrained levels of player expression. I point to the Kroby Cat video about Call of Duty just as one of many examples.
Pull up in a monster automobile gangster. You could be the
I could make the Nicki Minaj part longer so that it doesn't cut so quick, but I really don't want to dwell on the cringe. I really don't. I don't want to insult the viewer's intelligence with any more of that than I already have to give them just to prove the point. So I'm not going to. Funk makes the critical mistake of fighting Zesty on the basis of complacency, and I say mistake because he fails to define it properly. Zesty previously called him complacent in... Again, I am going to highlight all of the appropriate text segments. I just can't do it right now because it will take too long per part. Makes TF2 unique for the sake of player expression, to which Funk fires back with a "no, you're complacent," without actually understanding what that means. He says that the of a 20-year-old retired lauding of a 20-year-old retired design philosophy is complacent and not progressive, which... Oh, gosh. First of all, why... You could add an impact frame on the cut, full white for like 3 frames would land better. How do you mean? Like between the Nikki part and the actual COD part? Like to just have a blank white screen just slam for a really short time? Oh, gosh. First of all, why does progress matter? Can't something stay one way and be admired for that? Oh, between Nikki and the COD part. Okay, I'll do that. That should be fine. Let me just scoot this back real quick. I'm going to add a, white drop here. Make it really small. Oops. Gosh dang it. That's why I have to do stuff above everything so that it doesn't screw up all the elements underneath it. Yeah, the cut is really harsh. My mistake. Maybe I should just have a flashbang sound effect too. Why not?
up in a monster automobile gangster. You could be the
Could even add a sound effect like an explosion or something to mask the cut. What about the... But more violent. Cover your ears. That would be better. I'm just gonna download that for the audio portion of it. Why is this the funniest part of the video editing so far? Here, I'm gonna add it here in this channel, and here we go. You know what? I know what I'm gonna do. I'm going to grab this element. I'm gonna scoot the cursor over here. I'm gonna grab all of this. I'm gonna scoot it back a bit, because what's gonna happen is I'm going to here, I wonder what this will look like.
could be the
Get too much delay, first of all, but also, holy crap, for the sake of my audience, I'm going to crush that.
you could be the
It's taking too long.
I need to crossfade this and have it be really long cross. Actually, no. Maybe? This ringing is unbearable. I crushed the volume. Take that, streamer man. Maybe double flash, white, black, white, then crossfade to black in the guy's face. I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't. Okay, maybe, hear me out. Maybe I shouldn't be doing any of this at all. Maybe I shouldn't play any of the audio because it's wasting time. And just do this. I point. Oh, can we mute this part? I point to Roby Cat. When is the visual cut in? About here. Here, hear me out. I point to the Kroby Cat video about Call of Duty just as one of many examples. Maybe just that. Maybe just not even bother with the audio editing. Because, like, yeah, it's funny, but it's not... In the end, it is ultimately disruptive to the video's flow, I think. I think it would be better, right? Here, let's watch it back. General thoughts are correct. Funk responds with fake sentimentality about how the unrestrained level of player expression in TF2 now is fundamentally what makes the game unique. This is obviously untrue, as you can look at plenty of other live service games that forego a cohesive art style in place of unrestrained levels of player expression. I point to the Kroby Cat video about Call of Duty just as one of many examples. Funk makes the... You need the contrast. The point of the impact frame is to emphasize the contrast and make the cut feel intentional. I don't know. I'm starting to think that maybe I should just have that video and just get back to the point quicker. And I'm not trying to try to cheat my way out of putting effort in or something, but this just doesn't seem. You need to contrast the actual war clip. Okay, fine. So hang on. Let me bring this all back in. Okay, so yeah, I should. Is it this one that's the CS sound or not? No. Counter-Strike. Before we started trying the impact frame, it was fine. I just wanted a tiny bit of extra on top to soften the cut. That's not it. Maybe. I'll use it. I don't know what... No, that's not the sound. I'm just gonna have to use this one. Okay. Okay, so hang on. Let me move around a little more with this. I get what you're talking about, though, and it is a good idea. It's just needlessly tricky right now.
I'm throwing the flashbang.
myinstance.com for sound effects. Okay.
Throwing flashbang.
Oh, is that one? Sick. There we go. Bless you. Cut here.
Up in a monster automobile gangster. You could be the
How do I want to cut this? Fade out. Oh, that's terrible. Is that acceptable?
up in a monster automobile gangster. You could be the
The sound effect, the ringing isn't very long. I wanted the ringing to be longer. Is there? No. No.
Throwing flashbang.
Just the explosion, then the tone from the actual video. Also fade the white quicker. Okay.
up in a monster automobile gangster. You could be the
Is that appropriate? I feel like I need to jump in a call with you for a second because I'm not fully understanding, like... Is that fine? Is that fine? Samples.
up in a monster automobile gangster. You could be the
Getting close. Yes, it feels like it. It's just, there's just something still off about it. I think the fade is actually correct. It's just that the ringing, I wish the ringing lasted a little longer so I could fade it into the audio a bit more properly. But there's, I don't think there's a sound effect here that cut the flashbang ringing entirely. Okay. Maybe scoot it closer as a result then. Get a better sound. Huh? Oh, thanks.
up in a monster.
Has to be one with a longer ring. Yeah, certainly.
Flashbang. Okay, let's go. Throwing flashbang.
Could use the 1.6 one.
up in a monster automobile gangster. You could be the
Should I do this? This be that quick.
be the
Should I even fade it at that point?
be the
Maybe. Would that work?
up in a monster automobile gangster. You could be the
that's not terrible. That's not terrible. Could we make do with that? Would that be acceptable? Basically do no gap between explosion and video audio. The gap sounds wrong. I concur.
Up in a monster automobile gangster. You could be the
Should I stack it? Like, straight up do this?
you could be the
No, that's too quick. There has to be a gap.
could be the
No, because there's a gap in the audio here too. It makes it come out funny.
you could be the
This is like more Nicki Minaj than I've ever heard in my life, and it's just editing a video trying to make fun of her.
in a monster automobile gangster. You could be the
That's better. Certainly, right? I spent longer on this one part than I have for the entire rest of the video. I swear. Maybe don't fade the white at all. That'll be a bit jarring, won't it? Maybe cut the white to only fit with the sound waveform. Sorry, this is what my brain does way too much. No, you're good. You're good. I do the same thing, but I do it later in the process after I've just established this as a placeholder. But to be fair, this is the one detail that won't be easy to come back to as a placeholder, so this should be taken care of now and just gotten over with. After that, the rest of the video is easy. I don't think I have any other point in the script where I need this sort of thing to happen.
up in a monster automobile gangster. You could be the
You would think that it would stop buffering so that I could actually watch it.
be the
Hang on, you know what? I'm gonna export. No. I'm gonna export this tiny segment real quick. Segment. I'm gonna just drop it, and then I'm gonna watch it in VLC here so that we can actually like look at it without the buffer problem right now. Yeah, I think so too. Let's just make sure.
monster automobile gangster. You could be the
That's fine, right?
monster automobile gangster. You could be the
I don't think that's too much. I don't think that's too jarring or like annoying to look at. It really is only on there for like 3 frames, isn't it? Essentially, right? Yeah, I think that's fine. I think that's fine. I would prefer to move on to the rest of the video. You can try no white flash also, actually. What, and just the explosion? The sound masks the cut by itself. Okay, I can try that. Segment, no flash.
monster automobile gangster. You could be the
I think there's latency still. Yeah, there is. Yeah, it's good. Alright, I'll delete the white element then.
in a monster automobile gangster. You could be the
That's better. That's much better. The benefit of being a musician that has to record all his music digitally is that you actually can hear this difference in audio as well. So, departing to consume. Good luck. Thanks, brother. Thanks for the assistance on this part. That actually was super helpful. See you later. Funk makes the critical mistake of fighting Zesty on the basis of complacency, and I say mistake because he fails to define it properly. Zesty previously called him complacent in Valve.
Gosh. Howdy. The famous YouTuber ignored me, what the heck? What do you mean ignored you? Where? Where did you do? I can't... Am I not seeing messages properly? You haven't sent anything in chat since the message about Soldier deciding where to place his bucket. Have you been chatting this whole time? I'm on live chat. I see... Oh, your message got deleted? What? Oh, I'm sorry. Bruh. Complacent in Valve sacrificing what makes TF2 unique for the sake of player expression, to which Funk fires back with a "No, you're complacent," without actually understanding what that means. He says that the lauding of a 20-year-old retired design philosophy is complacent and not progressive, which... Indeed. I don't even know... I don't even know what you were trying to send. I can't find it. Who added this top chat feature? It's not top chat. I'm on live chat. I am looking at all visible messages. And you didn't send anything. Which means whatever you sent just got deleted on send. Or just like... Nobody has ever liked this feature. They said it was to filter spam. But if that was the case, why not just make that default? Oh, you were typing to Torred? Oh. Yeah, I never saw any of those. And I'm on the feature that shows me everything. I was on live chat, then I refreshed and it disappeared. I've been on live chat the whole time and it never came through. You gotta love YouTube bugs. Alright. Do you need me to wash it, or? I don't think so. Okay. It's okay. I'll wash the majority of the dishes later after breakfast, but I'm gonna be done here pretty soon, I think. So. Oh gosh. First of all, why does progress matter? Can't something stay one way and be admired for that if it was really good enough to have been looked upon favorably at one point? Second of all, wow, what an insult to the original art team to chalk up their work and care, of which there is quite a substantive amount of documentation regarding, to just retired. If I made that same claim about the art style of something as foundational to FPS games as TF2 is to team games, like, I don't know, Doom or Quake, I'd be publicly hung for the crime of being wrong, and I'd probably deserve it. I mean, there was work put into making TF2 look as distinct as possible at launch, even in spite of being the silly game by comparison to games that had come out around that same time, like Call of Duty Modern Warfare, Fear, BioShock, Doom 3, Halo 2, Halo 3, and some of TF2's siblings like Left 4 Dead and Half-Life 2. That's not even naming all of the major first-person shooter games that were released from 2004 to 2009, though those are just some of the ones I can think of off the top of my head right now. And Team Fortress 2 was absolutely distinct among them as an exclusively multiplayer team-based title with an aesthetic not too dissimilar to that of The Incredibles, while also leading very much into the desert setting and character archetypes and stereotypes for each class. Very much a stark contrast to what we have today. Again, by your own admission. Thirdly, and probably most stupidly, that's not what complacency means. Complacency is a feeling of self-satisfaction or contentment. So in this case, Zesty used complacency to describe Funk's walk-back stance of the art style situation being maybe not that deep. That is a more correct use of the word, but I personally think a better word would have been resigned, as Funk still wants to convince people that he isn't walking back against his video. He just wants people to know that he's loosened up a great deal on his standards. Huh, much like Valve there, eh? Jokes aside, that sounds to me like he has resigned himself to accepting the will of Valve, which is not nearly as positive of a connotation to put upon complacency as there realistically should be, but I digress.
As far as Funk's attempted clapback at Zesty, the word he should have been looking for in this comment is stagnation. What he accuses Zesty of is complacency in a 20-year-old design philosophy, which in this case, as far as Zesty's beliefs are concerned, would be a compliment, since he would, yes, feel content and satisfied with the original design philosophy of the game. That's why he expressed his dissatisfaction of it to Funk, and why he also expressed his dissatisfaction with Funk's changed stance on the matter. What Funk should have said is that Zesty is stagnant, or stale, or static, because the substance of Funk's retaliation is to accuse Zesty of not getting with the times. He is the acceptor of the new standard, whereas Zesty is the old boomer yelling at the clouds about kids these days and how things were just better back in his day. What's more is that Funk defines progress as the acceptance of beneficial change. This is a really weird thing to say because according to Funk even now, he doesn't get substance of Funk's is the old boomer. What's more is that Funk defines progress as progress, which would be change in a beneficial change. This is a really weird thing to say because according to Funk even now, he doesn't get bothered by the death of the art style anymore. He just finds it funny. But if we are using the proper definition of progress, which would be change in a positive direction towards a particular end, then what TF2 has experienced since its beginnings has been nothing short of regression, decline, and devolution. That is, change in a negative direction away from the intended end. So when Funk says, if anything, the lauding of a 20-year-old retired design philosophy is complacency, not progress, for stagnation because of beneficial change, and of course substituting complacency for stagnation because that's absolutely what he means in the context of this conversation, what he's saying is, adhering to the original design principle of the game is stagnation, not progress, which is the acceptance of beneficial change. And yet, by Funk's own admission, he doesn't disagree with any core points in his video. He doesn't walk back, meaning that to some extent he still agrees, meaning that 2017 Funk and present-day Funk are at odds with each other here. Because, by his own admission, what the game is experiencing is not progress. In fact, it is indeed Funk himself who is complacent with the state of the game as it stands, because he can't bring himself to condemn the supposed progress, which he proved was active regression of the game's art style back in 2017, in the very video he's commenting under. So, the only question is, which one is it? Because as far as any standard of logic is concerned, Funk can't have both here. Well, Zesty responds to clarify his position and express shock at Funk's doubling down, while Funk clarifies his referring to 3 item slots for cosmetic design, which he didn't mention in any of his previous comments, nor in the video itself, so I don't know where he's getting that from. He also says many of the game's best features would be non-existent if Valve had restrained themselves to the production Bible of the game, which, yeah, that would be a good thing, because Valve would be caring enough about the game's internal coherency and consistency to put the work in and do just that. That's not the own Funk thinks it is. He also claims it's a bad argument to call acceptance or enjoyment of new features I'm already liking it from the shrimp.
Yeah, okay.
Minus the Parmesan cheese, obviously.
Yeah.
That actually looks delightful. That, oh my gosh, man. That, oh.
It's okay. Because I want to have shrimp, but it's expensive, but I just don't want it to just be, like, by itself.
Right, yeah. That would be a great way to have shrimp. I would totally do that. That'd be so much fun. Press point to being fine, which he didn't mention. He also just that. That's not the only. He also, in line with the definition of the word of new features, complacency, despite that literally being in line with the definition of the word complacency itself. The lack of self-awareness becomes a headache at this point in the read-through, especially when Funk immediately goes on to clarify that he and Zesty both agree on cosmetics being better with themes, which headache at this point in the read-through, especially when Funk immediately goes on to clarify that he and Zesty both agree on cosmetics being better with themes, which, no, you didn't, because themes can mean anything that is actually dishonest style. So it's not just themes that make or break cosmetics. This is intellectually dishonest. In the next sentence, though, Funk says he'd rather updates only add sense. Ignore that previous sentence. He also finally clarifies his stance outright. He just finds bad loadouts funny. He doesn't think that contradicts anything from his video, which I find amusing because it does. It contradicts his feelings from the video itself, referring to 3 item slots for his previous comments, nor end. So when Funk says, if anything, shall change. This is a really weird thing to say. Hang on, I need this element. Hung for the crime of being wrong, and I'd pry off the top of my head right now. And Team Fortress 2 was with an aesthetic not too... So in this case, Zesty... Thirdly, and probably most stupidly, that's not what complacency means. Complacency is a... What's more is that Funk defines progress loadouts funny. He doesn't think that contradicts anything from his video, which I find amusing because it does. It contradicts his feelings from the video itself, and as a result, contradicts several sentiments he held at the time that, when expressed, pointed beyond his subjective understanding of the material he was discussing, and outlined the objective standard that overarches all of this. So, in fact, the sentiment that bad loadouts don't bother him anymore, to the point of him just rolling with it for the sake of a laugh, actually contradicts everything in his video. And to clarify, this would not be a problem if, and only if, his video was based in purely subjective metrics. But he almost never says, I don't like, in the video, or this doesn't feel right to me. No, his video expressly outlines the objective standard, even if it was briefly explained. This present-day sentiment runs right up against the very spirit of the original video, and whether he intended the video to point to something into the objective and the realm of truth itself at the time is beside the point. The reality is that it does, regardless of his will, and the video was popular and well-received because of the honesty required to just say it, and point that stuff out to everyone through the use of his large platform. And sure, some of his complaints might have been arbitrary in the moment, but again, regardless of his intent, they pointed to a standard beyond the subjective and into the objective, even into the realm of the truth about the matter, and the core design principles of the game from an artistic standpoint. Now, to remind all of you who are asking, why does this matter, Funk is a man with an incredibly popular platform. He has influence in the grand discourse, and he has a much higher chance of affecting the thought process of someone who watches his videos than, say, myself, as a direct result of his popularity. As anyone with such power, if you will, does, he has a responsibility stand platform. Funk is as a direct myself. As a direct result, he has a responsibility to the truth. He fulfilled that responsibility back in 2017, whether he likes it or not, and now wishes to abdicate that responsibility by saying that his stance has changed. Unfortunately, that's not how things work. There have been forums... Can I just drop this all the way at the end so that I can... There have been forum threads surrounding the statement made on the Knockout forum, the YouTube comments, and even his Twitter response to someone complaining about irreparable damage to Okay, this is a good This is a good stopping point for me. I have to go. I'm gonna eat breakfast with my excuse me, I'm going to eat breakfast with my darling wife. So I am going to bid you all farewell. And by the time I stream again next, if all goes well, maybe the video will be fully edited and done if I can finish it today. If not, then perhaps we shall finish it on the next stream. So farewell to all who are still watching. I love you all, and I will see you guys soon. Bye.